lovely stylized. So both of these are really nice stylized tools with a little bit extra as well. And then over here we've got the shaping kit. Now I'm going to show you how to use both of these. Today I've chosen a Chapter 1 Tim Holtz die. This is the perspective butterfly. Now I've chosen this on purpose because it's just so detailed. Have a look at all these details in there. And the notorious thing about detailed dies like this is that they can be very hard to get the small die cut pieces out of them. And also once you've die cut them, cleaning it up using your die pick to get that out, and I'll go through that in a bit. Do you know what? I will use that because there are a few remaining in here. So this is just another great use. I can see here the last person that's used it. We've got little bits of cards still in here. So these are just going to come out very easily, and then the die is just ready to use again next time. So that is just one use for the die pick in this set here. Now, the make I'm going to do, so we're using a slightly thicker GSM card here, and that's because I just wanted to show you the capabilities. The thicker the GSM, the more likely the bits are to get stuck in the die here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this. So I'll just move this to one side, and I'm going to bring my old friend, the Big Shot, on the screen. Now when we are cutting a detailed die like this, it's always best, pressure-wise, to cut it this way down. So you're going to have the card on top of the die. The die is going to be facing up with the blades facing up to cut for you. And then you're obviously going to put the die onto the side that you want to be showing in your make there. Now I've cut this card slightly too small for the die, but that was intentional, just to make sure I could get it through the machine. Obviously it's going to go through the machine because these dies, they're all made to size, so they will go through the machine. But I've cut the square a bit too small, but it's okay because we're only using a section of the butterfly in our make. So I'm going to place it down on the platform like so, and then we're just going to roll that through. Now with it being, oh, just look at how well that's got in there. With it being an intricate die, I'm going to roll it back through, and then you could do one more for good measure, but I think we're good here. Now here is where the die brush here, so this is the Tim Holtz die brush. This is going to come into its own now because it comes with this lovely bit of quite thick foam. So I will use the die pick just to prise this out now, and a bit later I'll go over and I'll clean this whole make up, because some of the holes that you can see in the back of the die, I don't know, you already knew what they were for, but some of them are for actually prizing it out. Like you can see there, if I'm just pushing it, you can see there that it's going to create a little bit where I can pull the element out there and just prise it out gently because we don't want to tear it. And some of them are for taking out the pieces, like, you know, these bigger ones, and then some of the tiny circular ones are going to help you get the pieces out. So I'm just going to pull that out. Now you can see here, so there's a lot in there. I could use my die pick. I don't want to create too much mess on my nice clean surface, but if I was using it, I would just go like this, and we're going to get those in there. You could use the die brush for that as well, just to do it a bit quicker, but the die brush really comes into its own when you layer it on top of here, because just look at this. Now that's going to save me lots of time in trying to, you know, aim the die pick there. This die brush, just going to run over it gently, and these bits are going to start to come out. And you'll see when I pick it up what I'm talking about. You can see the bits flying everywhere there. So you can see most of these have already started to come out there. Okay. So the whole thing would not take long to do at all. But what I'm going to do with this, I've pre-printed a sentiment on here. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole make because I've prepped bits earlier. So what I'll do is just show you how I went about it. I would position now my inked butterfly wherever I like, once I'd used the die pick to get rid of all these little bits. See here, the parts that you don't notice, and then you can just go back later on and just pick them, obviously before you stick down. So I would find a place for it to go. I probably would have used an adhesive sheet with this make, with this being an intricate butterfly, or if I had the time I could just carefully glue it down. Then I would trim around it so I just had a shape, and what I would end up with is something like this. Now obviously I've stuck it the other way on this make. So there we are, something like this. Now look at the way this has been framed just by me cutting round it using a paper trimmer. So it just gives it that kind of intentional sophistication there. You can see that I've cut it so that the sentiment is centered as best as it can be. And then I've just done a bit of splatter using some of this violet dye ink there. So all that's left to do on this make, now I'm going to actually get to use my tweezers now, because when I'm peeling, I don't know about you guys at home, but I don't have any nails. Now peeling, this is part of the shaping kit, so peeling bits of the back of the foam tape becomes so much easier when you use these tweezers. And what's great about them as well is that the pressure, you don't need to apply the pressure yourself. Once I've grabbed hold of something, if we're going to aim it right, there we go. So once I've grabbed hold of it, it's not going to let go. The pressure is there on its own. I don't need to hold that, and that can be really handy with some makes. And then I've just taken some of our lavender dust cardstock just to match that nice violet colour there, and look at that. So there's the first make today. Now you can see how handy this die brush and the die pick came in during a make like this, because when you've got a lovely detailed die like this, it's always good to have those tools just by your side so that you can, you know, create something really lovely like this. Okay, so on to the next make. I'll leave this here. I'm going to move this out of the way. So we are now looking at the shaping kit. Now again, it's got that fantastic Tim Holtz signature on there, so we can just show that he's right behind this product because of how fantastic it is. It has these lovely rubber elements here so that you can grip really easily, because you are going to be holding it like a pen, and it's just a really lovely thing to hold, very elegant. Now it also, so we've got this one here that's got these larger and slightly smaller, so this is the kind of one of the mid-sized kind of ball bearings on the end of there that you're going to use to shape some of your elements, which I'm going to show you in a sec. And then we've got this one that's got a really tiny one, and then another mid-sized one. So you've got the full set there with just those two, all those different sizes for adding certain shape to your make. Now these elements here, they're from the kit, the die set Funky Nature. I'm going to use these tweezers now because I am going to add a little bit, and just look, I don't have to hold that down. I know that that's gripped there. I could put that down and I could do something else, and then I could pick it back up, and I know I've still got that bit gripped, because I don't know about you, but when I'm crafting, I can be all over the place, not just a linear process. So I can turn that around. That's going to make it, oh, there we go. It's going to make it handy for me to just add some of the express glue, because I don't need to make sure that I'm squeezing with this hand and then gluing with the other hand. So take this element, figure out which way around it needs to be stuck, just match it up, and there we are. It's lovely, this die set. So you're instantly creating detail and shade. I'll do that one more time, and then I'm going to jump to sculpting. You only need a tiny, minuscule amount of our express glue there. So I'll just add that on, and there we are. So now that I've got these pieces down, I'm going to have these on my card, but I don't want them to just be flat to the card because these are so lovely that I know that the shadow they're going to create, the way the light plays over them is going to be fantastic. I have left a little bit off that side. There is another bit there of the extra layer to put on. It's over here, but I won't stick it on because you've seen that bit there. Now I'm going to choose from here. I'm going to go with maybe this medium one here because, as I was saying, I want them to stand out. I want to add dimension to them on my make. So I'm just going to give them a little bit of a going over just with this tool, and you'll start to see here and it's going to spring to life. Now just look at that. So there we are. So have a look at that, the way that it's sitting up, and if I move it onto the white, you'll be able to see the shadow a bit better. Now that is going to be included on my make. I'm going to do the same to the other element there, and you can do it over 2 layers. So that's it there. Now I've got these bits, and what I would do is I will cut out different shades of green, so I've got those different textures and different colours, and do some different colours of petal as well on there, and that's what I've done earlier. So this is what it's going to look like when you've added them all together. Now this card here, it is simplicity, and the reason is because I just wanted to show you the capabilities that of the makes that you can create and add that extra bit just using this tool. So this is literally just a white card base, a little printed sentiment, and then all I've done is I've shaped these lovely floral elements here. Then I've used a paper trimmer and just cut off the bottom so that we've framed it really nicely. So that's it. What I haven't mentioned yet, or I don't think I mentioned, did I mention this part? So we also have, I'm going to take some of the dies I used earlier to create these. Now when you are making at home, you need to obviously tidy away at the end of the day. You're going to put everything back in its own place. We have this detachable magnet here on the end of the die brush. Now you don't have to use it, but I've absolutely loved having it there because at the end of the day I think, oh, which goes in that set? This one does, this one does, and this one does, and then I'm going to take these off. I'm just going to put them back on the set. How easy is that? So that is just, again, an extra thing that you're getting with this set. It's absolutely fantastic. I didn't realise how much I would use this element until I had it to hand. So that is it from me. Oh, actually, do you know what? I'm going to show some of the makes just before we go. Using that perspective butterfly die, and also using my tools, we've created this one here in the studio, just a bit of inking, and we've cut from some of that black card there. Now again, this is a higher GSM. Some black cards that you can get, really lovely ones, they can come quite thick. Over here we've done the same thing, and we've used some dragging techniques, some oxide inks, and I can't tell because I think it was Mr. Pete Hughes who made this card here. I was looking for gilding wax, but we've not used any on this one. And then just over here, look at that, tone on tone. So these are all just creating that same die set that I used today. And there we go, another really simple one there. Simple but effective. And using the Funky Nature die set, we have, just look at this. Now this one here, that's been stuck down without adding any dimension, but on front we've used our sculpting kit on there just to try and add a bit of that dimension, and look how well layering one that's got the dimension over one that's flat to the card base there, and just look at that effect. So that's great. Here's another element here. I would buy this set just for this feather element on its own. Again, we have the feather coming up off the make, which is just letting, you know, the shadows do what they're going to do. It's really lovely. Same thing here. Love the way that these have been inked. And there we are again. So, just to remind you of just what I've done. I don't know how long we've been filming, but it's not taken me very long at all just to go over how to use the tools and just create these lovely makes. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. Go to our website for inspiration. Go and have a look at the tools on the website. I hope that you are as excited as I am to get using these tools. And that is it from me, so I will see you next time.